In this example, I'm going to demonstrate how to solve a quadratic equation by using the square root property. And the square root property is really nice to use when you are trying to solve for a variable that's inside a quantity that's being squared, which we have here. So the first thing that I need to do is actually isolate the quantity that's being squared. In this case, that quantity being squared is 3t plus 5 squared. So this coefficient here of 10, I'm actually going to divide both sides by 10 to get 3t plus 5 squared all by itself on the left, and then 110 divided by 10 is 11. Now what I'm going to do is take the square root of both sides. Now when you take the square root of both sides, it's really important, couple things. You must square root the entire left and the entire right all together. You cannot square root things in pieces. It has to be all the left together in one radical and the entire right in one radical. Okay, so I'm taking the square root, so it will cancel with the square, leaving behind 3t plus 5. However, on the right-hand side, I don't just have the square root of 11, I have plus or minus the square root of 11. Okay? Remember that absolute value thing that happens when you take an even root and an even power and they cancel out. We should really have the absolute value. But then the absolute value function is defined as being plus or minus depending on the value of the input. So what we're doing is combining those two strategies in one, and we call it the square root property. So anytime you take the square root of an expression like this, you must have plus or minus over here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is solve for the variable. So 3t plus 5, I will subtract 5 from both sides. And divide both sides by 3. And you could write this in the format, it's pretty common to see that's a negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 11 over 3. It's really important that you keep each sign with the number it's attached to. So this is plus or minus just the square root of 11, and this 5 is negative. This 3 is positive. So when you're rearranging your terms, make sure the signs stay attached to their values. So this is a fine condensed answer, but if you're asked to list out each answer separately, then this would be negative 5 plus square root of 11 over 3 and negative 5 minus square root of 11 over 3. And those are the two different answers that we get.